Our speaker today is Dr. Toluleke Famuyiwa. He is a John Maxwell-certified speaker, trainer, and mentor. Tolu has achieved Advance Communicator Bronze and Advanced Leader Bronze with Toastmasters International. He is currently the Area 13 Director with District 47, Toastmasters International. This speech is from the Engaging Humor Path Level 3. The purpose of the speech is to use presentation software to deliver a speech. The title of the speech is My Life in Screenshots. Toastmaster Toluleke Famuyiwa, My Life in Screenshots.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. Do you know the percentage of people worldwide that use social media? About 62% of individuals worldwide uses social media. Hence, what is the better way to tell a story other than using the random screenshot that we see from social media? And that's exactly what I'm doing today. My hope is you find something useful and you find more creative way to tell your story. As you all know, I'm from Nigeria. Coming from Nigeria, my situation was not as worst as this, as bad as this. I didn't feel like selling myself, but then the financial situation was not good. The economy was really bad then. And I had to find a way to better my situation because being born poor is nothing I can do about it. But then it's my choice to think about the ways I can become better. And one of the ways to move out of poverty is to be intentional about growth. And I decided to find new company, new location, and mindset. That's why I started thinking about moving to America. I decided to pursue my own version of the American dream. In my own case, I was 30 before I came into America because that's not what I could have done earlier than that. I came into America for my master's program to get higher education, to become better. So a lot of things on this list probably would not matter to me or did not really connected with me as a person because I was not 30 years old then, and my situation was very different. I came to America, the first thing that I encountered was financial struggle. I came down for my master's. When I came down, I was told to not come in the first place because I missed a very important meeting for teaching assistants. So when I came, I was just almost on the street and I was told to go back immediately because I would not receive financial support for a master's program. Hence, I had to reach out to my family members, living in conditions that were not really conducive for somebody to live, and I was able to go through that. While I was struggling with that, I encountered cultural shock. On my way to my master's program one day, I saw images like this. I don't know what you guys think about this, but from where I come from, usually when you back something like that, is human baby you have at the back. So I had to clear my eyes very well to make sure I was seeing very well when I first came to America, just to make sure my eyes are not failing me. So when I saw that often and often, I discovered, well, this is just going to be a new environment. Another cultural shock that I experienced when I came to America was when I had to flip burger. I work at McDonald's. I discovered that when you put a little bit too much salt in the little burgers that you make, you have to trash it away. You have to make sure you throw it away because you can get sued. Because if any of the workers or somebody coming in actually take any of those food items, McDonald's can get sued. So that was one of the challenges that I faced when I first came. Then I continued my master's program. As you all know, when you want to write or get a PhD or master's, first my master's and my PhD, I had to write some thesis. That's what we call it. And you can see in the picture, always trying to enjoy myself. Coming from Nigeria, whereby my weekends are always with music, enjoying myself, dancing, smiling, hanging out with friends, having a good time. I felt like there's an image of a ghost that always trying to be on my head and try to scare me whenever I try to enjoy myself on weekends and on holidays. So I had to just get myself out of that and make sure I can focus on my writing of thesis. By the way, I can't see the timer. If you're the timer, please let me know that you're there. Then when my first version of my thesis looked like this, of course, I had to work with my professor to make it better. And eventually, I just started the job search after graduation. And one of the things that I encountered was one of the people that interviewed me was in quote, people that I consider not to really like me. I was not unfortunate as the person in this picture who got interviewed by his ex. And you can know how that go. And the Indian biscuit here mentioned, I wonder whether the Indian biscuit mentioned here is the same thing as the Guyana biscuit that you guys have. You guys can tell me about that later. So I got the employment, still working hard to become better. My fear is that when I go back to my PhD lab, I'm going to see a situation whereby I'm not really happy with what I'm seeing, because now working in industry and getting more exposed means that you have more money, you see things in a different way, and hope I'll be able to go back and help my academic lab and give back at some point. Then it led to me moving from being single and trying to be married. One of the things that I discovered when I came to America was when I was trying to talk to female on this part of the world, I discovered that there were a lot of bit of reactions and stories that made them really close their mind a little bit to being talked to by somebody coming from another country. I don't know whether it was my accent or just because some of these people have been through certain issues in life, maybe molestation, abuse, and things like that, or even just somebody being critical and making sure, well, before you say yes to somebody from another country, they call it a green card. Is this about a green card thing or this kind of thing? So, of course, I had to go through that stage when I was thinking about moving from being single to being married. Then I got married. Thank God I got married. The whole situation changed. And of course, like people will always say, they say a happy wife is a happy life. A lot of people think that's a cliche, right? I've been married for almost 10 years. I'll tell you, it's the real deal. You just have to consider yourself to be the wrong person or accept defeat a couple of times to stay married for the most part. Then the pandemic hit. At some point, I was thinking about really still making it big in America. Then all of a sudden, the world turned upside down. I didn't know what to do, but I was able to pull through because of still engaging with social media and looking at pictures like this. And of course, trying to compare the different work environment that is applicable for me and making sure that I'm pursuing, going after the jobs that is really appropriate for me in my own situation. And based on how serious I think the pandemic was, I think we can all agree that it took a lot of people some time before they agreed that, well, this is really serious. And some people still want to work in person, regardless of the fact that there was a pandemic going on. Then I started podcast because a lot of people got bored. I was one of those people that got bored during the pandemic, and the thought of having a podcast came when we won an award from FAU. I was within a full group of people, and I was supposed to motivate people and make people feel comfortable, especially the FAU community. That's where the idea of podcast came. I started my podcast, and I discovered I have to start listening to other people's podcasts, and I started watching and listening to podcasts. One of the podcasts that eventually caught my attention was podcast from the Sheshe Club, and you can see the exchange that happened during one of the session, which is really something that I use to just decongest and just take a step back to laugh and not just take everything too seriously. Then after all this, as most people will report, I gained some weight during the pandemic, and I think a lot of people could attest to that. And of course, I had to start thinking about decisions that I'm making. Am I taking alcohol? I don't take too much of that. I make sure I stayed away from that and all those kind of things. Toxic people, sleep more, and all this good advice. Then when I go to eat, I barely go to eat. But when I go to eat, I always make sure that I ask the right question. And one of the things that I find out, as you can evidently see, is that almost everything has sugar. The only thing that doesn't have sugar is water and maybe napkin, as seen in this picture. Then, of course, the goal is to look healthy at some point. And the question is for us to have this picture we have here, which is showing this lovely looking women here. It's really something that I hope that every one of us can think about to stay healthy and look this young at every stage of our life. Then I also started thinking about my talents. That's something that I think that everyone should think about what they're doing beyond the certificate that they have. There's something that you know how to do. There's something that I know how to do. You have to discover that and wait time. Wait till you become so good at that. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm encouraging everybody to doing. Mine is music, playing chess, giving speeches, and so many other things. Then, of course, relationship advice. I have a couple of them here. Make sure you don't judge people based on what you see. You don't know the options that they have to pick from. That's one of them. Then I did find it funny that most people that try to say something about me are people that probably know very little about me. And instead of jumping to conclusion, why not find more about me before you jump into conclusion? Then violence is not always the solution. Always make sure you find a way to resolve things beyond the violence. Then if somebody is also trying to not give you good advice, you don't have to go to the person to get criticism, because that means the criticism you're getting is probably not going to be a pure one. Then, of course, always make sure you manage your anger, because it's very good to manage that. Get busy, do the right thing, because it's better to be positive. My message to my kids is to not just work hard, but really work smarter. And my legacy and my mantra is make sure that every generation is improving under your care. Thank you.